So you are welcome to today's edition of the program in the Newsroom. My name is Kayode Debayo. I sincerely apologize for coming a bit late behind schedule. It was due to issues relating to logistics, but we are now back and better. Yeah, we are here once again to discuss national issues bordering on national affairs, issues that concerns individuals, both individual and the collective within the society. First, on the front burner for discussion this afternoon is the transmission of 35 bills to President Muhammadu Buhari for assent by the National Assembly. Then we are also going to look at the comment or the remark or the explanation then given by Independent National Electoral Commission, telling us that the electoral umpire is collaborating with ICPC and EFCC to check vote buying. Then we are also going to look at what can be referred to as unprecedented performance by Federal Inland Revenue Service, as it raked in 10.1 trillion naira tax revenues in 2022. My guests are here with me. I have here in the house Adewale Adewumi, a regular guest on the program.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Akinola Olabi is also here with us in the newsroom today. Okay, you are welcome on board.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Now let's begin to look at the issues for discussion this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah. National Assembly transmits 35 bills to President Buhari for assent. Adewale Adewumi.
Well,
transmission of 35 bills to President Buhari for assent. The 35 bills, don't forget, it has to do with constitutional review.
yes,
Yeah.
it has to do with constitutional review.
Yes.
35. But my own question is, we are now at the twilight of this administration. A few more months, maybe at least by May 29,
Okay.
this administration would have been rounding up its 2 terms. The National Assembly now at this hour, when everybody is busy campaigning for the February election, when all attention is being focused on the election and the electioneering activities, now 35 bills being sent to the President for assent. Will Mr. President be able to go through all of these 35 bills and in detail and do these things
Before
putting the signature on it? So that is my own question and concern, that at this late hour, why has it taken so long to get these things to Mr. President?
Yeah, okay. Don't forget that 44 bills were before the National Assembly. The 35 of such bills were transmitted to President Buhari. What is your reaction?
Why waiting for this long?
Okay.
If you had 44 bills before you, as referring to the National Assembly, definitely not all the bills were considered the same day and passed the same day. Some will have been considered and passed earlier. Why didn't they send those ones to Mr. President so as to be able to look into it in details like Adewale said?
Okay.
It's not just a matter of passing bills into law. So many of these bills, what are the contents that are known to the members of the public? What are the contents that are known to legal minds in Nigeria? What are the contents that are even known to the presidency? Before you begin to talk of Mr. President, is it just getting to his table and assenting his signature so that it becomes law? Will not look at it in details, cross the T's and dot the I's? In case he has objections, will he not go through all these 35 B's we are celebrating the National Assembly. Good that they are rolling out so much. Well, when you were introducing, you were elated about the performances as far as these bills are concerned. That's the thinking of so many Nigerians. I'm not saying they are underperforming or they have not done well, but when you look at the timing, today is the 25th of January.
Yes.
You remember the Electoral Act. You remember how long it took going forth and back between the president and the National Assembly before it was finally signed. Let's see what comes out of it. Whether all will be assented to expeditiously by Mr. President to serve as gifts to Nigerians.
Parting gift.
Parting gift.
All right, thank
At
you.
the end of his administration.
Yeah, let me use this forum to welcome Abdulateef Uthman on the program.
Thank you very much for having
Man,
me.
you are welcome on the. I know the fuel situation must have caused the delay.
You are very right, sir.
Yeah, all right.
Now, that is another topic I for a situation like this.
Exactly. Close to an election.
So close to an election.
Thank you very much. Now, your reaction on the National Assembly transmitting 35 bills to President Buhari for assent.
Like my respected colleagues have been, saying,
Okay.
the timing is a bit of concern to many Nigerians, though the issue being cited by the National Assembly
Okay.
is that they could have done that before now, but for those bills have not met the requirements of the Constitution, which says that at least it must have about 2/3 of the state assembly's assent. So initially last year, the Deputy Senate President, Senator Ovio Omagigi, wanted to push for those bills to go, but only 11 state House of Assemblies have done their own part of the resolution. The remaining are yet to do it. And then there are some contentious issues, the issue of state police, the issue of judiciary, state judiciary, autonomy, and all, about 4 issues then. But I think now about many state assemblies have done that.
Okay.
Only about 8 are remaining that have not. So those bills have satisfied the requirement of the Constitution. I just want to say that it is not about timing. If it is the assent of the president, just that. Let us first of all go into the details of some of these things.
Okay.
If you look at some of the details of some of these, resolutions, you see that there are things that are not too, very close to the agitations of everyday Nigerians.
Okay.
It is not about devolution of power. It is not addressing some critical areas in our life. Most of it are issue of local government. Some people want to be bearing these names. Some people want to add some local government. Some people want to move from one local government to another. Some people want. So most of these 24 bills are not really things that affect Nigerians directly. So those are some of the issues. But if it is assenting of the president, I think the president has 2 SSAs in charge of National Assembly. Our own very good son, Senator Mourare, is in charge of the Senate, while another person is in charge of the House of Reps, who have separate office with staff who can do that, who can digest the bills for him, and who can recommend that, say all he will need to do is just to read the summary of it all and sign it. But I think if we can move on from there, because we see that we've discussed it on this program, that every year in, year out, the National Assembly have been in the process of saying they are reviewing the Constitution without anything coming out from it. So if at least we are going to move, even if it is not things that affect Nigerians directly, even if we are going to move an inch and see that this set of 9th Assembly have passed a bill, and those bills will be assented on the issue of review of the Constitution, it means later years, the 10th Assembly that are coming can also follow suit, and maybe we can start having constitutional amendments that will be very closer to the heart of Nigerians. But on this, I think the president should look at it and sign it before the end of his tenure, so that we know, even if some of those items didn't, like I said, we can move on from there and know that at least we are moving. Because from let me use this as my closing remark on that. Because since 1999, we've not been moving when it comes to constitutional amendment, and billions of naira are being budgeted for it every year in the constitution.
Please let me quickly add this.
Okay.
I love the angle he came from.
Okay.
But let's say he has spoken about the local government, for example, that some of the issues looked at issue of local government, but the core of it that Nigerians are agitating for has not been attended to.
Yeah.
Independent autonomy of the local government, or whatever you want to call it, as a tier of government, was glossed over. About 16 states approved it, including Osun, which is heartwarming. If the House of Assembly would say, okay, let the local government have their autonomy, but yet it wasn't attended to in all these 35 bills that are waiting the assent of Mr. President. I think that is a minus. Now talking about those who read, digest, and recommend for Mr. President, I could see I do want it. Honestly, it's a bit funny to me, and that is the part of the problem that we have as a nation. Where you have the leader or a leader who works on the basis of my head has done this or that, done that. In most cases, the outcome are not always palatable because the buck stops on his table. Nobody will talk about one other person from anywhere. They will say during the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, even as good as that may be, you remember this, the instance I earlier cited, the Electoral Act, as much as the aides, including Malami, had read, had digested, had recommended for the assent of Mr. President, and before it was assented to, you see how the same Malami going back to court.
Over
the same
he has recommended.
So when you look at it critically, this may not actually work. Well, we can't deceive ourselves. Muhammadu Buhari will not read all the 35. There is no way he can read all these 35 bills.
All right.
And form opinion on them before signing.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, in view of that submission, now, does it mean that all what we have expended in terms of effort, resources, and what have you on these bills, can we call it a waste? Because in view of the submission by Akin, it's not likely that we will have a tangible result.
It has the semblance of a waste. I haven't called it a waste.
How to pronounce it?
A semblance.
It looks like it's being a waste. This thing started, this exercise of constitutional review started, I believe, in 2014, the year 2014. Where they went from state to state, gathering information, collecting opinions, and whatever. And from 2014 till now, this is now the year 2023. You mean it has taken them 9 years and they have not achieved this much. And then at this twilight month, like I said earlier on, they are now 35 or just passed to the president yesterday or 2 days ago. And then the other, there are 44 of them. So the rest of them will still be passed to the president. And like I said,
if they are ready.
If they are ready, God bless you. If they are ready, and even those 35 that are ready, will the president sit down and read every detail of everyone? I'm sure that they will have a review that they will attach to each one for the president to read. Even for the review that is attached to each bill, will the president have enough time to read them? Let me go back and say that it was said about President John F. Kennedy that he read an average of 2,000 pages of documents a day. 2,000 pages. Do we have such a personality or such a person and such a talent and such proficiency in our candidates for president in Nigeria? I'm not talking about President Buhari now, but I'm just saying anybody, all of the major candidates, will they be able to sit down and go through these bills every day and have the same discipline and competence and the proficiency of John F. Kennedy to read 2,000 pages minimum every day? We don't have that in Nigeria, and that's why I am lamenting that there is none of the persons in charge right now who will be able to go through these 35 bills before May 29. They will not be able to do it. So where are we in Nigeria? So will these bills then be passed to the next assembly for the next president?
And they will start all over.
And they will start all over again. So this is like a dog chasing its tail. It's just going round and round, like one of our leaders said long ago, sitting in a barber's chair, going round and round, making motion but without making progress.
Okay.
So this is what I see in this thing.
All right. Now, if you see, in the course of the amendment by the National Assembly, people are expecting that the result will be an end to various agitations in the country. Now, the way things are going now, I mean, in view of your discussion now, will this amendment lead to bring an end to the agitations in the country?
There is nowhere in the world that a single amendment or two or three will put an end to agitations for better living or better ways of doing things.
Okay.
Not even in America. We have my good friend. He's sharing dual citizenship. So don't say this will end it. No, it won't. Even if it will be 100% perfect, it wouldn't have solved the problem because fresh things will keep emerging day by day, development by development, happenings by happening. So that won't do. And if that won't do, okay, we will talk about the momentary agitations on core use. We have seen that will not solve the problem of the local government. He said it. I just try to amplify it. So if it won't solve it, that means that particular agitation will continue. He also talked about devolution of power, giving credit to him again, that he didn't take care of it. If that were to be true, that means agitation for devolution of power will continue.
Yeah, of course.
True federalism will continue. And when you look at all this, that means we are still dancing, going by his own imagery of the barbing chair. That means we continue that kind of a dance. But my final take on this, the attached review, or even the aids, this is election period. It's not even election, it's electioneering period.
Yeah.
Everybody is out. Mr. President in Bauchi, in Lagos, in this, in that, is traveling out. Even the aides are all practically engaged with electioneering matters. So whatever we get out of it.
Okay. All right. Before we round it up on the topic, you said the amendment, the bills have not addressed the critical areas. They said that Nigeria expects.
Yes.
How do we survive the agitations? The situation of agitation.
Yes, in actual fact, you see one of the reasons why former constitutional reviews have not been seeing the light of the day is because it mostly touch the very fundamental things that people are talking about when it comes to the project in Nigeria. So, but this one in actual sense, Bill 29, 30, 31, and 32. 31, 32, and 33. That is 5 bills. Actually talked about devolution of power. But it is not in direct way in which out of all the 34 bills, it is only those 6 or 5 that talks about devolution of power. Let me read it for you. Constitutional Field Alteration Bill number 29, devolution of power, airports. You see, we might not see it as something, but at least some of our airports, we don't need all our airports in Nigeria to be controlled by an agency of the federal government. Let every airport, there are some states that can manage their airport on their own. They don't need to be under them. Then we have devolution of power, fingerprint identification, and criminal records. That's also, it is what I'm trying to bring out is that those devolution of power are not coming directly. the moment a criminal record, for instance, is directly under the security agencies, the DSS, the police, and all that. The moment the state can also keep some criminal records, it means we are taking some powers away from the federal. So in outright, then bill number 31, devolution of power correctional services. It means if the president signed these bills, this particular one, for instance, states can erect their own prisons and manage it themselves, so that in Osun we should have more than 2 prisons, so that we don't have over congested. No, so that a prison that is originally meant to house 20 people will now be housing 300.
When some nations are converting their correctional centers to.
So now before I finish, then we have devolution of power railways, and then lastly devolution of, this one is also important, devolution of power national grids.
Okay.
So some of those things are things that it is under the exclusive list of the constitution. So the moment we start taking it away, it will not be. And that is why I give kudos to this National Assembly for doing this. If the president can look at some of these areas and sign them, some of these laws will be going off the neck of the federal government, and the state can be coming in to supplement the effort of the federal government. So devolution of power is there. It is not just direct and obvious.
The critical areas.
Critical areas, yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move to the second topic of our discussion for today. We are collaborating with ICPC, EFCC to check vote buying, INEC. This is a challenging comment from INEC.
Well, it's a good thing that they are working together to checkmate vote buying. But actually, what is vote buying, and how do you identify vote buying outside of what you see happening on election day? Can you now say that a candidate running for office going to visit this area and that area and giving them transportation money, can you call that vote buying? Or can you say that is not vote buying? So that is why I said, how do you define vote buying? On election day, when monies are being shared or given out, how many times, except what we saw in Ekiti in June last year, where they arrested, I think, 4 people. And you saw the 4 that were arrested were taken away, but you saw those who were not even arrested flaunting the bill, the Naira bill that they received on that day at the election. They were jubilating. So now, where is the power of the federal government or any law enforcement agency to have stepped in and stopped that kind of thing? But is that going to happen now? Is that what they are now collaborating with the EFCC and the ICPC and with the Nigerian police be a part of it, or with the Nigerian army, whatever forces they put together? Will it be effective? What about the citizenry? What about the voters? What about the people who actually cast balls, who are looking for this kind of money handout given to them? And if you don't give it to them, then they say we won't vote for you. What about that? How can they checkmate that? They can make the parties and the candidates not to give out money, but if the electorate now say if you don't give us money, we won't vote, fold their hands and don't vote, what will happen? So this is a complex thing that cannot be achieved overnight.
All right, thank you, Aki. The collaboration between between INEC, ICPC, and EFCC to check vote buy, can it achieve anything?
Well, let me start on this note. My opinion may be far away from others.
Okay.
But in the first instance, it is not the business of EFCC and the ICPC to monitor vote buy on election day. What are the responsibilities of these agencies as far as the legal document establishing them are concerned? That's one. Where is the police? If you now have EFCC on the streets, ICPC on the streets, wearing their jacket and arresting those buying and selling votes on election day. We saw them in Ekiti. They were also in Osun last year. to me is a failure of a nation.
Yes.
We don't really know what to do, or even perchance we know what to do, we don't know how to do it, how to go about getting it done.
Yeah.
I don't know the business of ICPC and EFCC. That is the first thing.
Okay.
Now talking about the collaboration,
Okay.
doesn't really matter. Even if you have to use the devil to achieve your aim
Okay.
in this instance. But the question is, the past experiences we've had, I said last year, we saw them in Ekiti and in Osun. He had also made reference to say, what has been the outcome? In practical terms. You see, one thing, if EFCC and ICPC are collaborating, why are we celebrating it on the pages of newspaper and on the airwaves? Why don't you do it silently, discreetly, so that those who you are out to apprehend, to block, as far as these are concerned, will not suspect you of doing anything until you start apprehending them. One thing about the political class in Nigeria, due apology to them, is that the moment you announce this, they are devising another means.
Of course.
Vote by.
Like he said, when did the vote buy start? It starts even before campaign.
Yes.
You are charging buses, you are fueling it, you are paying them, you are giving them money for food.
Yeah.
Technical vote buy.
That is technical vote buy.
Yes.
Even in terms of registration, you have political parties or candidates or politicians who will drop money for people to go and register. Is because they know these are set of people who work for them on election day. We've had instances of people buying voters' card of voters. We had one in Osun, in Takumasa area last year during the election. Those are technical way of buying votes, because it's like in football. My own team is Chelsea, yours is ICC, or mine is Raka Rovers, and yours is Yimba. And you look at Adewale Adewumi as the best striker on ground. You have the money, you just buy him off the shelf. If the value is 70 million naira, you can pay 200 million naira. At least you are denying him the services of the other club.
Yeah.
So those who are buying voters' card are denying other candidates the benefits of those cards, even when they know it will not be useful to them. So when you look at the whole gamut of vote buying or more practices in Nigeria, as far as politicians are concerned, it is endless. So if you now want to do it, and you are now telling them, okay, I'm coming to pick you. Yorùbá dín ogun àgbọ́tẹ́lẹ̀ kì í parọ́ tó bá gbọ́n. I don't know how to translate that.
Let me come to you. Now, the INEC is trying to collaborate with ICPC and EFCC. But I can say that EFCC, ICPC have no business in this area. Why is it that INEC cannot make use of civil defense and the police in this regard?
Thank you. I think the question that has been raised by my respected elders is that in the first instance, is this the first time vote buying will be happening? What has happened to the few, just very few, that has been apprehended in the past, that have engaged in that? How many people have been prosecuted? How many people are serving jail time? How many of those arrests have been, investigated to the latter, to the extent that the person that is sending them or the candidate that is directly or indirectly in charge are all prosecuted? I mean, these are people in Nigerian system of governance generally. these officials in agencies and parastatals of government, they should, with all due respect, they should stop insulting the sensibilities of Nigerians. I mean, if there is a need for somebody to gather people in one room, there is a need for a particular program, there is a need for you to address the press, there is a need for you to say something so that it will be published. Even in the process of doing that, there is a way you just don't insult the sensibility of people. This is because we all know the way politicians conduct themselves on the day of elections. We all know that vote buying is going on. People know the only people you see they arrest are just to say, so that you see that we are working. Out of about 30, 50, 100, events, you only arrest one person and we don't hear anything about it again. And you are still saying in every election, state or federal election, you hear it in news, they will arrest people, that's the end of it. I think we should be serious about it. And then the fundamental question now raised is that, is it even in the work of EFCC to be doing that? The act establishing EFCC, does it include the fact that on the day of election, they are all out of the way, along the way, they just add it to their task, that after all, it is financial crimes they are after. So if you also, can we even define vote buying as financial crime? I didn't steal anybody's money. Somebody came, gave me money. And then it is more of criminal stuff, civil code that the police and some other agencies can tackle than what INEC and than what EFCC should be tackling. So in saying that, I think we should be getting serious about some of these things. If INEC, like if you look at the news, where the man made mention of that, he's not even saying about exchange of cash. He was referring to if somebody's what do you call it, PVC. A PVC is found on me that is not my own. If you take me to court, if you charge me to court on that, it can easily be said that I have siblings and I don't want them to destroy their car or throw it away on them, and I kept it for them. So you are not talking of exchanging of cash. I will know that the issue of vote buying is about exchanging of cash, and it is done within the vicinity and feasibility of around where the unit of the election. If the Nigerian security agencies will want to be very serious about this, we have to be seeing prosecutions, we have to be seeing people serving jail terms, we have to see candidates being taken to court and made to face the consequences of that. So until we reach that level, all these are just mere rhetorics that will come and go again after every election. And in the long run, those rhetorics to me is like we are insulting the sensibilities of sane Nigerians.
All right. Now let me come to Adewale. Now, if you look at this thing, it is becoming worrisome. Much as the INEC is trying to sanitize our electoral system, the politicians are trying to mess the system up. One of such a act is the issue of vote buying. Then how can we now support the INEC in order to allow this umpire to succeed? Because the electoral body is really trying.
Yes.
We have to give it to them.
Yes.
They are trying.
Yes.
So
and they have
what
achieved
can we really do
in
order to support this body to achieve?
It's like asking a Babalawo, how can you get from Lagos to New York without getting an airplane? Is it possible? They said all these affairs and all that, but in this case, it is a task that is very, very difficult, very, very, very difficult to achieve, because INEC may be trying, and INEC is trying, but there will be those on the other side of the equation who will be frustrating whatever INEC does. Look at the Electoral Act of 2022 that is being heralded as bringing necessary and needed change, but there are those who have already gone out and they are finding a way to frustrate that Electoral Act of 2022. So EFCC collaborating with INEC and ICPC, trying to sanitize the system and prevent vote buying. yesterday morning or 2 days ago, early morning, I just thought about it. I said, why is Alison Madueke Diezani still in exile? Whatever she's accused of that is keeping her in exile, those who are in the country and in the government have been accused of doing more, and they're still in government. And they're still EFCC, and you remember the AG, the AG, Attorney General. I mean, not the Attorney, AGF, Accountant General
of the Federation.
109 billion. 109 billion. Where is he? He's still within the system. Of course, he's being prosecuted, but where is the end of it? And will it end when this administration ends its tenure? So EFCC may be fighting a losing battle because they are not going to get cooperation from where they need it.
All right, I can quickly, what can we really do? Because we must support INEC to succeed.
Let me use Fani Amu's phrase of those days. Wombling and fumbling. Maybe until we get it right. But after warning these people, they say, I've gotten what the equivalent of that statement in English. So before one is to what?
To be formed.
So after you must have done that to them. So let's keep fumbling and wobbling. Maybe we'll get there one day.
All right.
But when?
One day.
Your opinion in this regard, we must do something. We must really do something.
In my own opinion, it is very, very difficult to achieve anything out of that, like Aldado said. Because if you look at some of these agencies and parastatals and security bodies, they are the product of the executive. The executives are the one directly involving in all of this. I mean, let us take it for instance. A boy, I call it a boy because that's how the big men refers to people that they put in places of authority.
Let my boy go.
If one director in the EFCC is the one prosecuting some, they will call somebody that brought him to that EFCC and say it is your boy, please call him.
Even the chairman.
Yes, they'll say please release that person. He will not dare.
Exactly.
It is, we can only get out of this if we have strong institutions. Institutions, I mean, take for instance, how do people get into EFCC? We all know that it is true, you know somebody. It is not that 100% true, I mean, transparent process where the most competent will get there. So until we have strong institutions, whereby, I mean, look at the US for instance. I give kudos to them. The Donald Trump wanted to, I mean, because the institution is very strong, has been very strong, he couldn't do anything. So until he gets there, whereby even if the son of the president, the sitting president, is caught buying votes, he will be prosecuted just like any other person on the street of Okefia in Osogbo. That is when we are going to get out of it.
Strong institutions.
Yes. Until we get strong institutions, we are going nowhere.
Let's move to the third topic of our discussion for today. Our time is fast spent. FIRS raked in unprecedented 10.1 trillion naira tax revenues. 10.1 trillion naira.
Wow, that's a lot of money. 10.1. How much is the current budget, or the one that just passed?
13 or 14 so.
Yeah, but this is 10.1 trillion collected.
Yes.
Where is that 10.1 being stored or banked right now? And also, how much is expense to be deducted from that 10.1 trillion? Those are the questions that got to my mind when I saw the topic, and I said, wow, that's a lot of money. And the federal government ought to at least be feeling a little relief, having collected 10.1 trillion. But all we are hearing is we're still borrowing money to finance the budget. So this 10.1 trillion, is it being employed or being used in this current budget or any budget at all? That is what about the one before? How much was collected? Where was it used? I don't have a record of it. I haven't read it. They have it somewhere in the federal, FIRS also has it somewhere. But where is this money being stored, being banked?
All right. Aki, 10.1 trillion naira tax revenue. generated in 2022.
Great figure.
Yes.
Fantastic performance.
Yes. Sharing news.
Sharing news. Adewale said they wouldn't know where it's being kept. They don't keep such money. They share it.
They
maybe,
share.
Maybe it has been shared along, maybe in quotes, along with allocations, monthly allocations to federal and state government. But one thing about the whole show is when you look at these figures coming from left, right, and center, and you look at the parlous economic situation of Nigeria, and you think of the life of average Nigerian on the streets, there is no nexus. Honestly, this is just an agency of government. Go to immigration offices on daily basis in Nigeria today. I had to take someone there sometimes ago. If you don't get to Osogbo office by 4:30 a.m.,
Really?
you are done for that day.
Yes. Yes.
4:30 a.m.
Yes.
You have lots
As
of
bad as
people,
that.
sea of heads,
Every day.
and they are paying money. You go to customs, they are paying money. So many agencies of federal government collecting money. You go to the oil sector, you look at the royalties, you look at all other things. Apart from that, we are selling so number of crude oils per day. Even FRSC is generating money. NAFDAC is generating money. So many other institutions are generating money. The question is, where are these monies going? He spoke about our borrowing. And they tell us that they spend 70 or more percent of our annual budget in servicing loans, in servicing debt. I don't know why we are. Something somewhere must have gone wrong. But how we get to this kind of situation? Nigerian Port Authority is there, generating funds.
Customs.
So, I think we need a kind of. He talked about strong institutions. I agree. We've been talking about that now for more than for only God knows how many decades. But those who will create it are the beneficiaries of the present situation on ground.
They are the beneficiaries of weak institutions.
Of weak institutions. And God help us as we help ourselves. But yes, the FRC is doing well. But we are of 10.1 trillion naira. How many trillion naira have gone down the drain, quotes, or into personal pockets in the process of generating this? How much have been expended on generating this? How much is being kept, or how much will this agency also take? Because I know if they generate over a certain amount of money, they take from it. So what practically is left for government? All this we have to straighten out. Even from solid minerals, we are generating funds. But yet, we are borrowing. We are servicing debts. We are crying. Nigerians, look at the fuel situation in town. Look at how prices of items are going up. Cement, a bag of cement is now going to about 5,000 naira.
Jesus.
And we are celebrating, we are generating this.
All right, now FIRS rating 10.1 trillion naira. Are you not happy about it?
No, I'm not. I'm not. It's because it is just another figure that we'll just hear about it and nothing will happen. We'll never hear anything about it again. I mean, like he rightly said, some of these things are when you are enlightened to some extent, there are things you cannot wrap your head and your mentality around it. We don't have any business being a broke nation. We don't. I mean, we might not have reached the sufficiency level of some first. I mean, what is even the definition of first world nation? Is it not because they have fiscal discipline and responsibility? Your budget is, let's assume, I mean, some of this money, 70% of it has not been spent. That is just because the money being, the more people are paying tax and they are doing that, they have an account for it, but it is under the TSA where all this money, or like all these taxes and all these custom duties are going into. So even before I mean, last year in year 2021, a highly placed government official is saying it categorically that Nigeria is broke. I mean, practically broke. I mean, Nigeria doesn't have any business to be broke because we have all it takes. Like this 10 trillion naira now, you will not be surprised if somebody is now telling you that they use 2 or 3 trillion to generate 10 trillion. I mean, let us go into the details of this generation. You will be surprised. There was a time last year when the budget of FRSC was being made public. Some NGOs, some of these CSO that normally scrutinize it. I mean, they are trying to buy some vehicles for 70-something million. I mean, in the FRSC, if you can remember I mean, it was so outrageous. And when people say no, what they are telling us is that after all, we are the one generating the money, and we have to spend some certain amount out of that money. So 10 trillion is enough to finance whatever we have as deficit in our budget. So that 10 trillion, if you have budget of 14 trillion and you have 10 trillion somewhere, without not mentioning some other areas, last year, just to tell you some of the things that are happening in some of our MDAs, over the years, people in JAMB will only remit 3 million, 4 million, 20 million. But now this man is generating 40 billion and giving it to federal government. So where is that money coming from? So some of these MBAs are generating huge amount of money. Where are those money going?
Thank you, gentlemen. 10 billion naira is enough for us to finance whatever.
We hear of 89 trillion naira somewhere.
Yes.
Central bank and allegation.
Yes.
It has not been proven.
Yes.
It has not been brought to the floor.
Exactly.
It has been kept
and it
in abeyance.
And
life continues as normal.
Yes. It is in this country you hear of the massa and they say, is the massa a billion agency? Billions and billions.
All right, our time is
I think we need to be
round it up now. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to join us today.
Thanks for thanking me.
It's nice being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Viewers at home, this is where we are going to call it quit for today. Tomorrow is another edition of the program when you join another of my colleagues in the newsroom. Until then, bye-bye.